Hello everyone, it's NotaNoobPat, and welcome to Perk Review. Today we're taking a look at the level 35 Hag Perk, Hex Ruin. Whenever a generator is not being repaired, it will automatically regress at 200% of the regular regression speed. This effect will only be active as long as the Hex totem is still standing. The main pro is obviously the automatically regressing generators. Not only does this perk double the regression speed, but you don't have to stop what you're doing to go kick any generators. The other pro is that this perk practically guarantees that the game will be slowed down at least a little bit at the start. Survivors will either be kicked off of a generator and it will regress, meaning they have to spend more time repairing it, or they will spend the first few minutes of a game hex hunting for this perk. The cons are that this perk requires you to move around a lot to be effective, so obviously this means you can't spend all your time camping your hex. Running and gunning also doesn't fit everyone's playstyle or their killer preferences. For example, Legion and Hillbilly can obviously zoom around the map, but slower killers may struggle to gem patrol on bigger maps. Then, as with every hex perk, bad hex placement equals an early cleanse and a dead perk slot for the rest of the match. Furthermore, most DBD players know about this perk at this point. It's one of the top 10 most used killer perks, so survivors are always looking out for the hex totem and assume it's Hex Ruin. Let's get into our video demonstration. This is what Ruin looks like in action. I go on a generator, stop repairing it, and the generator will start automatically regressing. Survivors will get an initial cursed indicator on the left and then also see the Ruin logo. Then, the cursed indicator will also be present on the right side as long as the hex is still standing. Since this perk is so popular, many survivors do what I just did as a Ruin check. They will tap the generator, see if it regresses, and if there is Ruin, they will immediately start hex hunting at the beginning of a game. Then, as you can see, I locate Hex Ruin and cleanse the hex. The cursed icon will disappear, as I mentioned before. Now let's take a look at the generator regression comparison. On the left, Ruin. On the right, normal circumstances. I will start by repairing the generator for 45 seconds. Again, as soon as I stop repairing this generator, Ruin will start the regression while the killer has to manually kick the other generator on the right to start the regression. You can see that the generator affected by Ruin has half of the progression as the generator on the right because of the 200% regression Ruin causes. From the killer side, I wanted to show you the sparks that come out of the generator when it starts regressing. This can be helpful for locating survivors when you see a generator start to spark when you get close to it, meaning that you know a survivor will be there. Since Ruin automatically creates generator regression, you can't kick the generators while the perk is still active. This means that this perk does not have synergy with other generator regression perks like Pop Goes the Weasel. The survivor is going to cleanse the hex totem. You will see that the Ruin perk icon in the perk window will go from lit to unlit, signifying that it is no longer active. To start generator regression now, you will have to start kicking generators like normal again. Let's get into our video examples. I'm playing with Mikey. Remember how I said that you can use the sparks to identify if a survivor is there or not? I'm walking towards this generator, but I'm not sure if the survivor is still there or not. However, I'm going to see the sparks spit out of the generator and the survivor is going to pop up. However, my priority at the moment is tearing up, so I don't go for a hit. I eventually find my way in the school basement and I interrupt two survivors completing a generator down here. Then, I want you to notice this dweet who smacks this pallet in my face. I'll get some revenge later. I'm going to continue generator patrolling when I find this Claudette self-carrying with my nurses calling. Then, while I'm carrying this Claudette to the hook, I'm going to find another Claudette self-carrying, but I also notice from my barbecue and chili that the survivor is back down in the school basement generator next to my hex, and I'll go right there after I get this hook. On the way there, the Dwight blows the generator and begins to hide while I end up running him out of the school, which allows the generator to regress back down to 0 for the second time this match. I eventually get another hook here on this Jake Park. If any generators around the entire map were started, they will surely go back down to 0% progress, as the Dwight is going to have to come off of his generator that he is on to get the saves for his 3 teammates that are all on the hooks. Then, I find the Dwight finally coming in to get this Jake Park. Somehow I don't get the grab, and then I hit the Jake Park while he's being unhooked, but he's going to sacrifice himself. Unfortunately for him, I know Decisive Strike exists, so I just leave him on the ground for 60 seconds. And here comes my revenge on the Dwight. He is sitting on this pallet, waiting to stun me again. I hesitate and mess with him, and get that easy insta-down with Tier 3 Mikey. Both of the Claudettes are now dead on hook, and I hook the Dwight and wait out the Jake Park's Decisive Strike timer before I hook him and get the 4-man. However, I wanted to point out that I end this game without the survivors completing a single generator. This is borderline impossible without this perk, but since I continued to run survivors off of generators and cause them to get off their generators to go for unhooks, their generators were regressing the whole game, and you can see that even the basement generator is just sitting at 0% progress even though it was being repaired 3 separate times. For our final ruin example, you are going to see how I generator patrol and cause generators that are almost done to never be completed with this perk. Take a listen in to how much this generator is chugging. The survivor wants to commit, but Ruin is going to do its job when I run the survivor off and I eventually hook them as well. After I get this hook, I see a survivor is on the generator on the other side of the killer shack with my barbecue and chili, and listen in again to see how close this generator is to being completed. So I have 2 generators that are very close to one another, and they are also both very close to being completed. Fortunately, I hooked one survivor and ran this other one off, and the generators will regress at the 200% regression rate due to Ruin. You will see that I will just continue to generator patrol these 2 generators for the next 30 to 40 seconds to make sure that they will go down. Now an unhook happens, and a survivor goes straight back to their generator, and we can see that it is already almost down to 0%, and I'll be able to down another survivor. After this, I generator patrol the next nearest generator to the killer shack and I find yet another survivor on a generator and run them off and eventually hook them. The generator on the side of the killer shack is around 10 to 20%, then when I go back to the generator on the other side of the killer shack, it is down to 0% and I'm going to put another survivor into the dying state. I see a blown skill check on the generator on the other side of the killer shack, and I'm going to go right there after I hook the survivor, and I run another survivor off this generator again, and Ruin continues to do its job. Now, my Ruin is finally cleansed by the survivors, but it's already done its job and completely regressed the 3 generators near the killer shack down to 0. You can see that these generators, the one to the left of the killer shack, the one to the right of the killer shack, and the one near the 2-story shack are still uncompleted despite how close to being done they were. This also prevented the final survivor from being able to find where the hatch was prior to me hooking their last teammate with them, and I'm able to shut the hatch and find the survivor near a door and get a 4K in large part due to Ruin. Let's give this perk a grade. Hex Ruin is an 8 out of 10. This perk can be great for extending games for the killer and getting rid of generator progress if it's used correctly. However, an overwhelming majority of the player base knows that this perk exists and works to eliminate it in the first few minutes of a game because they know how devastating Ruin can be. That being said, if you do get survivors hex hunting at the start of the game, this perk will still indirectly cause the game to slow down as the survivors won't start doing generators until the hex is cleansed. If you can correctly protect this perk, use Hex Undying with it, or you just get a very good hex placement, then this perk is obviously worth it. Where many hex perks are not worth the risk because their reward is too low, Ruin stands out and is still a regular choice for many killer mains because of how big of an impact it can have on a game. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave it a like. If you want to check out more perk review, make sure to look for the links in the description and visit my channel to subscribe. I also stream twice a week on Twitch if you want to stop by. Take it easy.